I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for the White Paper Library. And so this is interesting. I find white papers, well-written white papers, to be so much more beneficial than books because there's so much in a book, right? There's so much in a book that isn't um, that you don't use. Like, right? It's like 80-90% of the book, you don't remember most of it. White papers, a well-written white paper is just crazy insane. So we're going through the white paper library and we've gone through, phase one, learning to think differently. And so WIFM, consistent, committed, driven, and disciplined, and clear communication and success through self-vaporization, being the best student in the world. Then we move into, if you haven't gone through these, you want to go through these. These are a good foundation to being able to go into the second one. And phase two is the income machine. And so these are some of the books that, I would recommend. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Good to Great, and The Tipping Point. There's more that I could add to that for sure. Then we go into today's,
Recebo a Alexa
we're going to go into
e puis
the
monter sur mon podcast.
um, so then we're going to go ahead and go into thinking differently today. So we do this every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, go through the white papers, and there's over 100 white papers that I've actually written. And so they're pretty interesting. What's better than reading a white paper is writing one. You all should be writing white papers. I'm just telling you. And so there's 3 to 5 pages is what I found to be most effective. And then there's, 10 to 20 pages of Q&A. And so thinking differently, like the first question that might come up is, why did we spend six, white papers thinking differently? And then all of a sudden we have a white paper on thinking differently. That doesn't, like, what's going on there? So Cheryl, what do you get from the white paper?
To thinking differently?
Yep.
First of all, I never really knew or internalized the difference between joy and happiness.
Right?
That's weird to me.
That's the good Baptist training that I had. Like, there's some Baptist issues that I have, a little trauma with it, but that's just good Baptist. I don't know if all Baptists get trained in that, but that's just good Baptist training right there. Nice. And that is, man, is that awesome. That is so cool. Honestly, I'd forgotten that was in this white paper. So it's so cool that I went ahead and did that. That's really neat. What else?
It was one of the first things I saw, and I read it and I'm like, what? I went back and I read it again. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. I never realized that. But anyway.
At the Coffee Connection, wouldn't that be cool? You print it out, put these in a 3-ring binder, you organize it, and then you go ahead and you get up, and every week you go ahead and promote this podcast and say we go through these white papers, and like this what I did this last one of the weeks this last month is we went through, and this is what I got out of thinking different: joy versus happiness. And then you share what it means and why it was so significant with you.
Then that would mean I would have to talk in front of a lot of people.
What's that?
That means I would have to talk in front of a lot of people.
Well, if you want, we could put a blindfold on you, and that way you wouldn't see any of them.
Okay.
You can sit down. You don't have to stand up.
Thanks, Mark.
I could go ahead and hush everybody, and you could just talk a little louder. We could get
We could like
no. Okay, this is going
make a big circle around you, like we're all one of your kids and looking at trying to see this white paper.
Or what you could do, another ODA, is you could go ahead and get Luke to do it.
I could do that.
See,
make really good notes for Luke, so he knows how to do that then too in the future.
Right.
I like that idea.
Or somebody else, right? Yeah. No, I did that when I was in college, and I got out of three presentations by getting other people to do it. So yeah, you can do that. There's lots of things. What else did you pick up?
Okay. The one other thing that really caught my attention is how when business owners invest like money into something, they need to get that in a return.
Right?
And then if done successfully, obviously there's a lot of money.
Right.
But with time, I still think I have to internalize it a little bit more, but it intrigues me how when business owners invest, I don't know, X amount of hours into something, they expect money in return, which yeah.
And there,
But
yeah.
But
Go
how
ahead.
it was saying in there, how when we exchange time for money, we always run out of time.
Right. Right. See, that's golden. And there's only one business person on the planet that I've ever heard that say that. I've never read it in a book. I've never seen it on the internet. I've never been to a seminar or workshop. There's only one business person in the whole world. Google doesn't know that. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
But I guess, yeah, like I said, I have to internalize that a little bit more to get the concept that you always run out of time. I
Right.
don't know.
Right. So the way to do that, the way to do that is to do the 30-day secret about time challenge.
Okay.
And that'll do it. And there's a bunch of other, there's men that they say they want to be like me, which is just humorous to me. They want the extra 20 hours, 20, 30 hours of free time. And so they say they want, Mark, I want to go ahead and have, 20, 30 hours of free time, a week. I'm like, okay, well, this is how you do it. But they're not willing to do the work. And so, if you go ahead, you could lead up a group. I could give you, a handful of people that have said they want to do it, but they don't have, so why would they listen to you, Cheryl, and not me?
Not sure because I'm a woman.
Yep. That's exactly
That
right.
doesn't, I knew that was the answer, but it still doesn't make sense to me.
See, they had moms.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll connect you to their mom. Subconsciously, they'll think, oh, she's like, mom. And so I need to listen to her. Also, men are super competitive and they don't like to go ahead and look bad in front of women. And they don't like to be beat by a woman. What they'll do is you compete against them. And then they'll start to play. So, and men love to be played with by women, big time. They love to be teased. They love, so men they just love women. And so you go ahead and start doing something, you put a challenge out, and older men, they hate getting beat by younger men. And so you get some younger men coming along beside you, and then all of a sudden, this is the secret about time. So there's a 30-day challenge. I don't know if it's in here or not.
It is, or down here, it's,
Somewhere, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
this one here would be a great one to go ahead and ask a question. So asking the question, what does identity have to do with thinking differently? Like on yesterday's, it was interesting. Ben, my son, he thinks he's heard everything his dad has said. Like, oh, I've heard that before. I grew up with that. He thinks he has, but he's never heard me talk about identity. Why? Because I didn't realize the importance of identity. Oh, this here, him, my youngest son, when he was, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, he did 10 podcasts on this with Tom Coons. And this thing's awesome. Like, so the Harvard Business School of Law or Harvard School of Law came up with 10 things to be successful in the 21st century. So Harvard's that really smart, that smart high-end Ivy League college. And so I was impressed. Normally, I'm not impressed with, the Ivy Leagues, but this one I was. They said to be successful in the 21st century, you need to have the ability to define problems without a guide, ask hard questions which challenge prevailing assumptions, quickly assimilate needed data from masses of irrelevant information, work in teams without guidance, work absolutely alone, persuade others that your course is the right one. Conceptualize and reorganize information into new patterns. Discuss ideas with an eye towards application. 9 and 10 is think inductively, deductively, and dialectically. I mean, it's just so he did when he was like, I don't know, 10 years old. He did 10 podcasts with Tom Kuntz and I. Those are still available. We should get those in here. We should get where you could go see those.
Do you remember that there's a saying in here from Tim?
Probably not.
I like what it says. It says, just because someone tells us what we want to hear doesn't make it true. And just because someone tells us what our brains don't want to hear doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. That's awesome.
So, yeah,
So this is, and I wrote this, and so this is why I like people reading it, because they'll pick up like crazy cool things, like if you put that, on an email to, everybody, that you invite to Coffee Connection, it's going to bring in a type of person.
true.
So people are going to resonate. They're going to be like, what? Like, what? Like, what does that mean? And then they'll start to ruminate on it. I love that. All right. Anything else, Cheryl, you have?
No, hopefully sometime, and it would be better earlier versus later. I would love to know how to do like the shapes, learn about them so that I can read other people. But
Okay. Yeah. That, like this stuff here, is this cool or what? These journals?
yeah,
You know where all these things happen?
no,
In church on Sunday.
Mark.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Do you hear the preacher at church?
Oh, big time. More than
Okay.
anybody else in the congregation. See,
Okay,
people in the congregation, they just go to, I think most of them seem to me, they just go to feel good for a moment, and then they come back for their hit the next week. Like I'm going to church on Sunday to go ahead and have my life change forever.
right.
And so go to church. You ever have a chance to go kayaking with me? Go kayaking. You ever have a chance to go ahead and, go to church on Sunday with me? Go to church on Sunday. You've never experienced. You ever have a chance to go to a movie with me? You go to a movie. Like I do
I'll go to,
things in a very different way.
I'll go to church with you on a Sunday, but I won't ever go kayaking with you.
Well, we're going to work on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And so get other people, Cheryl, right? I mean, get at least 2 other buddies. Get 2 buddies to, to go ahead. Like it's a lot more fun when they're reading and you're all interacting. Like we're all like little 3-year-olds. Like you're a
Right.
little 3-year-old girl and I'm a little 3-year-old boy. And, you're seeing stuff I'm seeing stuff you're not seeing. And all of a sudden we're playing together and we're discovering all these cool new, like there's an adventure. It's like, man, this is a cool adventure.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you.
Okay,
So
thank
Marla,
you.
we'll see it. Marla, anything you have to add to this?
No.
Anybody else have anything to add? Questions, thoughts? So this one here has a diverse history. Like this one has a really diverse history. So some of them had many of them have specific things that triggered it to happen. This one, I don't remember a specific thing. So you might say, well, Mark, you've written these. How come it says that there's, 4 other authors? There's multiple reasons for that. One is that, if I was the author of all of them, nobody'd believe me. They'd be like, yeah, one person can't, and they wouldn't mean it as much. So these are 4 people that, like Tim, he's the second one. This is when he was into bodybuilding, when he was a teenager. And so he went ahead and, he contributed to this white paper by the 10 things. And then Dr. Gregory Simpson, he was really cool, a good friend. Like, he's just funny. Like, once I was talking to him and I said something, I said, you're a good, friend of mine. You're a black man. And he's like, I'm a black man? Oh my goodness, I never even noticed that. That's amazing. So it's funny because he would say, Mark, you're more of a black man than I am. I'm like, you're more of a, white man than I am. So so Dr. Gregory Simpson, just really cool guy, like really neat. Amy Xie, so he's from Jamaica, I think, what originally Dr. Gregory Simpson is. And so Amy Xie is from Hong Kong or from China. Oh, so many stories. So she had, coffee connection. So many stories with her. And then, Tim, my son, my youngest son, and then Alan Stein, president of Tanglewood Conservatories, like just amazing guys. So these are 4 people that I said, hey, you want to, co-author the white paper, with me? And they're like, sure. So they co-author the white paper. They didn't do any of the writing. I just did all the writing. But if so, you can go ahead and co-author a white paper with me and not do any of the writing if you want to. Now I just write them and I don't put who authored them at all. I just write them. But you could go ahead and do it. Why might you want to go ahead and co-author a white paper, get your photo here and, get your photo and your name here? Why might you want to do that? I'm surprised that all of you aren't thinking that right now. See, the thoughts never crossed your mind. You're like, huh, like why would I want to be a co-author of a white paper?
Is it because the writer gets the most out of it?
That's one. Good. So, my international speaking coach, she said, Mark, you don't write a book to bestow your wisdom on everybody else. You write a book to go ahead and gain deep wisdom and knowledge on it. So that's one. So good. Same thing with a white paper. Good. What other benefit do you get? So people will think you're smart.
Gotcha.
See, Luke understood that. Nobody else did. In part because Luke wants, one of the things he wants people to think about him is that he's smart. Part of that's because he's an expressive. So he understands, why do you want people to think you're smart?
Probably because I'm not that smart.
But what's the advantage of somebody thinking you're smart?
Trust.
Okay, so their trust increases. If they think you're smart, their trust increases. Good. What else?
Not sure.
So you'll get people drawn to you. So, Amish aren't real big into pictures, and so you can just put a side shot or something of you, or I don't know, put some of your buggy. I mean, I don't know, put something. You want to have a picture there, so it connects you somehow. Again, it doesn't it doesn't have to, like Tim's not, the other 3 are all looking. Tim's not looking right at the camera. He's doing something. So you could be on the garden or at the shop or I don't know, doing something. It doesn't have to be, but you want them connected to you. So it's going to draw people to you. It clones you. So Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich, he said when you take 3 minds and you bring them together, you get a 4th mind. So when us as a group together, when you all participate, anybody who participates, then we get a 4th mind or a 5th mind together. So when you combine all of these things together, then all of a sudden, so you start cloning yourself. So for your business, how would it help your business?
Draw. Yeah, draw people. Just I don't know. People would like me.
People would be drawn to you. People, and so what it does is that, and they would be interested, and then they would say, "Wow." And the thing that's nice about having 4 people is if there's something in the white paper you don't like, you can say, "Well, somebody else wrote it." Like, I didn't like that part of the white paper. Well, somebody else wrote that part. So when you can seriously, like, that's true. It's a true thing. And so you don't have to like the whole thing. I don't like the whole thing. It's like, okay, well, there's different perspectives. So, you know what? Somebody has a different perspective. Well, I don't like that perspective. Well, okay. like it's fine. And so what it'll do is draw people to you, and then people go, huh. Like, I've been looking. So one of the biggest challenges you have in a tight community like the Amish or Baptist or, is one of the biggest challenges you have in the community and doing business is they think, well, you're just so and so's son. Like, what do you know? Like, you're just Luke Miller. I mean, I remember when you were just a little boy. So what they do is
Hmm.
people that are around us, like even Jesus, you look at that, and they're like, isn't he just a carpenter's son? Like, he's just a carpenter's son, no big deal. And so you find a topic, and then you find, ideally 3 other people, and you don't even have to write it. If you can find somebody else to write it, it's called ghostwriting. Somebody else can write it on your behalf. Questions?
No.
Oh, when you look at this here, and why do the Amish have an advantage over the English in this?
Because they grow up reading more.
It seems like it. I mean, Amish, it seems like they read more than the English. Why is that?
'Cause they don't have a TV to look at.
They don't have a TV. They don't have internet. They don't, like, what are you going to do with it? 10,080 minutes in a week. Like, how about reading something? So so people are, so you find a topic that if you want to impact the Amish, you find a topic that, what's going to intrigue the Amish. What's something very intriguing to the English? It's the Amish.
So maybe do vice versa.
Right. So the income machine, it's a lot different. There's a lot of ways to generate income that people have never thought about. Like, they've just like, I've never thought I could never make money that way. Really? Interesting. Anybody else have anything else on thinking differently?
So if writing a book or a white paper gives you understanding on that matter, that's correct, right? If I understand that right?
Yep.
Like I was thinking about that last way. Maybe I should write a book about something like my path.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. My path to becoming a Amish millionaire or something like that. Then
It's
I'd
up to you.
understand it. And
Right. Right. And so, but you write a white paper first, because a white paper is infinitely easier to write than a book. So you write a white paper and you see what resonates. You can always turn a white paper into a book, but you always start off with a white paper. Don't start off with a book. The first book that I wrote took me 10 years to write it.
jeepers.
Yeah. So you don't want to do that. Very few people have the stamina to go 10 years. So you write a white paper and see, does it resonate? Are people interested? You can always turn the white paper into a book.
Mm-hmm.
And the white paper is a great promotional for, a book. Yipper. Yipper. So anybody else have any questions on thinking differently? So the next one that we'll be doing on the next podcast is trust. So we often trust people we shouldn't and don't trust people we should. We often trust ourselves when we shouldn't, and we don't trust ourselves when we should. So why is that? So what's going on there? And so the live broadcasts, the live podcasts are, I don't know. Like why if you can go to a live, broadcast, why would you ever go ahead and not do that? So getting it out, reading the trust, and you're going to get the most out of the white paper if you read it and then you talk about it. When we all talk about it, we're all going to see and come from different perspectives. And so when we do this, so you invite a bunch of other people to participate in this. And then you read it, encourage them to read it, because the more people who participate, the better it's going to be. That is going to be a cool white paper. Can't wait to get to the 2-3 Patience, the Silent Killer, and tell you the story behind that one. That is a cool story. And so lots of good stuff to come. If you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.